Hi. Welcome back to Cactus's Kilted Bees. It's been a long winter and fall. Haven't done a video since October, I think, and got a few things to talk about, and then gonna tear into this hive. Bad news is I've got what's called a dead out, and dead out is when your colony does not survive the winter, and there's any number of reasons that can happen. It can be parasitic, it can be pests, it can be disease, it can be that they froze to death, it can be that they starved to death. I opened this up a couple weeks back, or a little over a month ago now, and went through to find out what happened. I did not video that, but what I learned from what I saw inside is that my hive went queenless. Probably late in the year. It was too late for the colony to recover and create a new queen. The evidence of that inside there was what's called a queen cup. They tried to make a queen, they were not successful. If they did produce a queen, it was too late for her to mate. Too late in the year, no mating flights happening. So she wasn't producing new bees, and the colony just kind of does what they do. There's no new bees being created to replace the ones that are naturally dying off, and so the colony gets smaller and smaller until finally what's left in there dies in place, and that's it. So percentages, the numbers are still being tabulated for this year, but there are research companies that tabulate how many bee colonies nationwide have died out over the winter, because it is a very common occurrence, and oftentimes it's upwards of a third of all colonies. Latest numbers I saw showing somewhere around 41% of all hives did not survive the winter. Some of the other beekeepers that I watch, as a guy, very experienced beekeeper, 13 hives, 12 of them died out this winter. So me losing my hive, it's not abnormal, but it's still sad. I was looking forward to the first spring weather causing my bees to come out, and they'd be pollinating stuff already like crazy, because we've had pollen now for a while. But kind of like last year, I'm getting a late start. I will not receive my new bees until, well, a week from tomorrow, a week from day after tomorrow. So anyways, a little more than a week, and I'll be doing another video installing my new bees into the hive. But what I'm going to do today, these girls, they died out early. They died out probably October, maybe. It was quite a while ago. They did not eat all the honey that they made for themselves to survive the winter. So I have resources in that hive that I can give to my next colony of bees. It's going to put them miles ahead of where they would have been otherwise. It means that even though it's another inaugural season for this colony that I'm getting, they're going to get a jump start, and it means that I might actually see some honey this year. So it's not a total letdown, but it is a partial letdown for sure. Losing my bees was not something that I wanted to happen. I did everything in my power to try and make sure that they were strong and would go into the winter strong. But even if you do everything right, and again, I may have made some mistakes, I don't know, but even if you do everything right, there's a good chance, very good big chance, that they won't survive. So that said, I'll stop talking unless I think it's something that you need to see, and I'm just going to go ahead and work on this, and I'll probably speed through most of this when I edit it, pausing only for the important things if there are any. So that being said, enjoy, and welcome back to Cactus's Kilted Bees, and look forward to seeing you in a week when I actually have more bees to put into the hive. It's going to be exciting. So here we go. Smells like beehive. It's kind of a nice smell. Hard to describe. It doesn't smell like honey. It smells like beehive. You'd have to smell it to know it. They have attached the frames to the sidewalls a bit. Pretty normal, but makes them very sticky, and have to work at it a bit. Meanwhile, took one of my bee boxes I used last summer. I put a bottom in it. Usually these boxes have no bottom. They're just 4 walls, no top, no bottom, so you can stack them in different configurations. But this is how I can store my frames of honey until a little bit later, and keep them safe from pests that might come into the shed, like mice or ants, wax moths. There's lots of things that will go after this if I don't protect it properly. Oh yeah, it's already starting to drip in there. So the top box is going to be predominantly honey, maybe completely honey. And this is all wax that the bees made. Remember, these frames I put in were empty frames. They had no, they were just a wooden rectangle. All the wax that's in here was built by the bees. It's all full of capped honey. If I wanted to, I could take and scrape these cappings off and extract, oh, probably 6 to 8 pounds of honey per frame. That's good honey. In fact, I have not tasted my bee's honey ever. Oh, that's dribbling like crazy. Oh, it's really yummy. Oh my gosh. Well, that's exciting. My first taste of honey from my own girls. Sadly, they're gone, but their honey still remains. The new bees will replace this. They will actually eat it if they need to, and they will move it around. They'll reseal it. They'll do whatever they gotta do, so this becomes usable honey for them. So this is some of that better comb that I put in. Again, if you watched my videos last year, you saw that every other frame in that top box was a product called Better Comb. It's a manufactured honeycomb made from a synthetic wax, totally safe, totally food safe, and it gives the bees a head start. They don't have to build the wax, they can just go right to work using it. The downside of it, we've learned, is that when the weather gets really hot, it's not as strong as real honeycomb, and when it's full of honey, it gets so heavy that it can slump under its own weight. And that, if you look at that bottom edge, that's exactly what happened. Is it began to slump from its weight. I will put this back in and they will use it, but this is another 6 pounds of honey right here. 6 to 8 pounds. They'll use it, but I will probably start recycling out these better combs. They're wonderful for getting that jump start, but in the long run, I don't think they're going to work out real well. It doesn't even get that hot here in Western Washington, but apparently it got hot enough for this thing to almost fail. There's some of my dead girls, part of the cluster. I found another cluster down lower, which means that after these died out, some of them still managed to migrate up and feed on some of the wax up in here. But sadly, those poor girls didn't make it. They're still stuck on the board. They were trying to live. Was knocked them off. Little scrape. That grossness that's left behind from where their little bodies were kind of decomposing, that's well, the bees will clean that up when I give it to them. They will make this frame like brand new. Again, both sides of this frame loaded with honey, loaded with nectar, And the bottom edge makes you think there may have even been some brood in this frame. Very possible. Now, here's the frame that was right up against that. Again, you can tell on this side that there was some brood. The queen was laying in that bottom arc. So there was new bees happening in this frame, as well as the bottom frames. And here's the other side of that cluster, the dead out. And again, quite a few of them here. Very sad, but they just died, and they didn't die of starvation. There's plenty of food above them. It wasn't starvation that got them. It was just their time, because they do only live so many weeks, and many of them die out in the hive during the winter. But if you don't have a queen laying new eggs, there's no workers to replace the ones that are dying. So right here you can see these raised up drone cells. The fact that there was drones in the hive that late in the season tells me that I did have a queen. I did have a queen, because an unmated queen can only reproduce drones. They don't produce drones in the wintertime. There's no need for them. Drones are a resource hog. They're couch potatoes. They're the lazy boys. They are the drummer who's sleeping on your couch. And the fact that we have drone brood in this frame in the wintertime is a sign, definite sign, that the queen, either the queen existed and was only laying drones, or the hive was queenless and worker bees started laying drones. That's another possibility. When there's no queen, regular worker bees or females, they can gain the ability to lay eggs. But again, like an unmated queen, they're like a fake queen. They can only produce or only lay non-fertile eggs. Non-fertile eggs produce drones. Fertile eggs produce female workers. So it's kind of an amazing thing, the idea that an unfertilized egg still hatches an animal. Very interesting. Again, lots more honey. 5 pounds, 6 pounds. And a lower portion. Again, proof that that queen was an amazing, amazing producer last year. I don't know if you remember, but my colony went from the first roughly 3 pounds of bees, probably that's 10,000-11,000 bees. It exploded in just a month and a half's time, to where I had to have multiple boxes to handle them all. Start out with 5 frames, ended with 16 frames plus the honey box, which is another 6 frames to handle their bodies while they're working, to accommodate them. There is it's all honey on this side, and a little bit less, I should say, on the back side here. Basically, we're talking 70-80 pounds of honey in this hive. More than enough to keep a thriving colony alive through the entire cold season. Wow. 8 pounds of honey, both sides. Now, there's a spot here with nothing in it. Bald spot there in the middle. I don't know why. I'm not sure what happened there. Another 7 pounds of honey. See the back side, the inside edge of the frame, pretty full. A few empty pockets that they probably ate during the dearth. This side, a lot more empty ones around the outside, but solid honey in the middle there. half is really exclusively a brood box. There'll be food typically around the sides. Your cluster of bees in the middle is literally wherever the queen's at, in the center, a good softball sized area where she's typically doing her laying. And it's three-dimensional, so the frames run through that three-dimensional ball. But she's working around laying eggs on 2, 3, 4 frames, and even up into this upper box, as we could see. And then as they hatch out, she goes back to the center and relays in those new available cells. So if you were to watch a time lapse, you would see like a pond ripple effect of eggs to hatching, working its way out, and then again and again, almost like a slow beating heart. It takes about 20, depending on what she's hatching, 3 weeks. Call it 3 weeks. And this lower box is where most of that activity happened. Outside of that ball, where all the brood is happening, then you get the bee bread, which is the product that the bees are making from pollen. And it's fermenting pollen that they've trapped in cells. So that's your protein that you feed to the brood. They eat protein. Gotta have protein, so that's where that protein's coming from. And then of course the honey is all carbohydrates. You get honey outside, so you gotta get your brood cluster, then a layer of bee bread protein, and then honey outside of that and above that. So a little bit of mold in here. Whoops. And we're dripping nectar everywhere. That's going to draw ants to clean up the ground. I have to make sure this hive is closed up nice and tight until I have, well, until I have new bees. Yeah, it gets kind of icky in here. Well, no resources to speak of in this frame. I'll save this frame for them to clean up and use later on in the year when this colony's nice and strong. I'll probably, what I'm looking for right now is frames with stores in them to help boost my new colony. Yeah, same thing. Just don't know until I see more what I want to use for what here. This is full of sticky, gross stuff. I'm sure they'll make use of it or they'll clean it out, but I want to try and give them the best stuff that I have in here, whatever it may be. Unhatched brood. They died in there. Bees tried to clean them out. That's why they're punched full of little holes. It's just larvae and such. And that right there, that's the emergency queen cell. That's what tells me that my hive went queenless. There was an egg in that cell, and in a panic, a hopelessly queenless hive is going to try to recreate a queen with whatever they can. They take and they build a new cell around that existing egg and try to give her royal jelly and try and let her become a new queen. And that looks like something hatched, but maybe it never really formed. She may have died without hatching. It's really hard to say. But that right there is the proof. If there was a swarm out, there'd be cells down along the bottom for a new queen. The fact that there's only one emergency cell tells me that it was a last-ditch effort to get a queen in there to save the colony. There's another emergency queen cell right there. Same thing. So they tried twice that we know of. Some honey, some protein. I think this will be a frame that I let them keep. I think this is a nice, relatively clean frame for the new colony to have to start up with. What are you? Piece of wood from somewhere. A little bit of honey and some nice brood comb that needs a little bit of cleaning up. Let them keep that. The new colony, just like last year, is going to come with 5 frames. There's an 8-frame box. I need 3 frames in here. Last year they started with empty frames. This year they're going to start with already made frames that just need a little bit of cleaning up. They'll use a lot less resources getting these frames ready than if they were to build new frames. So this will be a good launching point for a new colony. I'm going to leave these 3 frames right here. Space for 5 frames for the new colony to go into. That will be next week. So anyway, that's it. I'm gonna button things up here. You don't need to see that. And can't wait to see you guys next week when I get my new bees. So more exciting things too. I'm gonna fix the foundation under that hive, make it a little stronger. Last year a mole tried to tunnel up underneath it and it got a little wonky. So I'm gonna strengthen that up, make sure that my colony is nice and safe. Not gonna dump over or anything because of critters. So that's it. Peace out.